Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Knitting Pickle Podcast. My name is Laura. If you're new here, I am a knitwear designer, content creator, and I make YouTube videos, knitting podcasts, occasionally some vlogs, and I have a Patreon as well, which the details of are in the description box below. And if you are a regular viewer, hi, sorry it's been a little while, but welcome back. I'm here with a traditional format podcast for you today, and it's gonna be a chunky one. I've got a lot to talk about. This is actually take two. I tried to film this the other day, but I was having camera problems and noise problems and builder problems, and it just wasn't working. So I'm hoping that I'm back today with a better environment and we should be able to hopefully make it through this in one piece. Speaking of camera problems, I have a new camera, which hopefully you can tell. My old camera was just on its last legs and it was secondhand in the first place, and I just didn't look after it very well. And I'm so glad that I was able to upgrade my camera equipment, because I was filming on my phone and it just was quite difficult. The focus was particularly hard to work with, and it just meant my editing life was even worse. However, this camera has a special setting where I can go like this and I can go like this, and it's seamless, so I'm very excited. The issue I ran into the other day though is that the battery ran out before I had finished recording, and you can only charge the battery within the camera, which is something that might have changed my mind when it came to choosing cameras if I'd realised, but I've ordered a separate charger and a spare battery, which I have ready to go, so hopefully we should be able to get through this. So let's get straight into this, because I've got a lot to chat about. We've got finished objects, we've got whips, and we've got some really exciting plans coming up too, and a little bit of lively chat at the end. So we're in a new spot today, which is really, I mean, it's not exciting. It's not the kind of thing that is exciting, but it's making me feel happy because this is where I filmed the first ever episode. It looks very different because I was mid-renovation when I filmed it, but it is technically the same spot. I even bought in the same plant that I had. It's still alive 2 years later, though it's not looking very happy at the moment. So we need to address that situation, but yeah, it will be okay. It survived 2 house moves and a renovation, so yeah, he's a strong one. But yeah, so hopefully the lighting is all right. Hopefully we're not picking up the noise from the builders. My new camera has a much better microphone and it has a fluffy guy as well, so hopefully there's no echo and we're all good. But yeah, let's crack on. So we should probably start with what I'm wearing. Of course, if you are a usual viewer or have been with me for a while, you'll know this design. I have finished my Sibling sweater. This is the second sample of one of my latest designs. The original Sibling sweater, the original Sibling sweater is a child's garment that was released earlier on this year, and I had lots of requests to do an adult version. And it's been a bit of a temperamental up and down design process with this one. My first sample that I started to make highlighted some fit issues, like transferring the kids' version to the adult version, especially with the shoulder shaping, caused quite a lot of problems, which took me a while to figure out. And then I had a sample knitter make another sample for me, but I asked her to do the wrong size. So even though it fits me, it's not the fit that I was going for. It's a much more of like a kind of sweatshirt fit, but I wanted something oversized and relaxed, just like the original kids one. It's good though, because not everybody wants as much ease as I like, so I've got an example that I can show to everyone, which is really good. I'll put some pictures in of the original sample for you. That sample is made using Sandnes Garn Merino, which is a superwash, and this version is made using Sandnes Garn Double Sunday, which is non-superwash, and we've got the colours Whipped Cream and Sailor in the Dark, and I think they're both the PetiteKnit colours, but it's basically this very dark blue and cream, and I'm obsessed and I cannot stop wearing it. Honestly, I've worn it every day since I finished it. It already needs a bit of a spa treatment. What I will say with this yarn is that it does pill excessively at first. I've worn this 3 or 4 times, and you should probably be able to see we've got some quite obvious pilling. Also with this yarn combination, the white pills stand out on the black stripes and the black pills stand out on the white stripes, so it kind of looks worse than it is. But I just wanted to show you before I depill it. But for me, the pilling is worth it because it is so soft. I wanted something that was, for me, zero itch, zero irritation, that was soft and cozy and comfortable. It's quite a heavy yarn, I would say. It's a heavy feeling garment, especially when you go as oversized as I did. I've got 11 inches of positive ease. But I love that. Not everybody loves that. And I was speaking to a friend and they asked if it was peer gynt, and I think that would be a really nice option for this sweater as well, because it's a much lighter yarn. It's more rustic, but it's lighter. So there are loads of different options. It's a DK weight and there's obviously a myriad of things out there. So I'll show you the main detail. Obviously it's this shoulder shaping here. It's made using increases and then obviously picking up and everything. And it took me a long time to get the ratios of this right. It looks really simple, but making it so that there was no tightness or tension on the shoulder was really difficult and nearly broke me. I'm sorry, I just nudged you. But we got there in the end. The other feature I'm super, super proud of is the neckline. I wanted something folded and cozy and deep, and quite a few of my testers were like, oh, I'm a bit scared, this neckline seems really, really wide. And before you add the neckband, it does feel like it's massive, but of course the neckband brings it in, and I'm just so pleased with the fit of this. I wanted it super chunky, but I didn't want it to in any way come up my neck. We didn't want this, we wanted nice and relaxed and gentle. I did put some elastic inside just to kind of keep it in the right place, because when your neckband is this deep, it can kind of lean forward a little bit at times. So just a little bit of elastic in between the layers of the neckband and you're sorted. And then we've got the sleeves. I wanted really long, cozy, snuggle up sleeves, and I'm obsessed. I know I shouldn't say that. I know it's so annoying when people are like, I'm obsessed, but I am, because I'm wearing it every day and this can happen. I have some sensory needs, and anything like this is like a hard no for me. I need my wrists and my ankles either covered or completely exposed. So I'm fine with short sleeves or long sleeves, but anything in between I can't handle. So I don't like it when a jumper is sleeve length and then when you're moving about it comes up like that. So I go for extra long sleeves, and then I can just kind of, you know, do this if I'm doing something, or, you know, pull them up, fold them back. But I know not everybody is into a long sleeve, and this is something that also come up with a few testers, especially if you're going oversized with it. The sleeve length can come out a little bit long because obviously the drop affects the sleeve length. So there are full instructions in the pattern on how to edit your sleeves and make a shorter sleeve or a longer sleeve. So don't worry, if this isn't your vibe, I've got you covered. So that's the Sibling sweater, and I'm so pleased with it. I was a little bit worried about the colour combination. I was a bit worried that I was going to give like hamburger vibes, but I think we're leaning more towards the chic. Especially I've been wearing it with like camel tan beigey coloured jeans or blue jeans. I've worn it with a black skirt and tights, and I'm just, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's so like it fits in with my wardrobe really, really, really well, which is something that I'm learning is so important with me when it comes to yarn choices and colour choices. Yes, I can be really attracted to all these fun bright colours, but will it go with my wardrobe? No. Will a black and white striped jumper go with my wardrobe? So the process, we're nearly at the end of the test knit now. The deadline for the test is the 20th of October, and I'm hoping to get the pattern released as soon as possible after that. I will be announcing the release date and yardages in advance, but we've just got to let my testers get a little bit further through the process first. But yes, it should be all good for an end of October release, and I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming, this one, and it's been an emotional roller coaster, but I'm coming to the end of the process in love with this garment, in love with the design, and so excited to share it with you all so you can all be matching with your little ones. I was hoping I would be able to persuade my sister to do some sibling photos with me, but I don't think we're going to be able to make that work between now and the end of the month. So it'll probably be just me in the photos. Anyway, so there you go. That's my first finished object, and I hope you like it. Second finished object, we're going to stick with the garments, and this is a kid's garment that I started at the very end of July and have just finished. It's not my own design, but it is my own yarn. Oh, exciting! Here we have my Strange Brew for my daughter, Penny. The Strange Brew is a pattern by PetiteKnit. It's a pattern I've talked about numerous times before. I think every knitter should have it in their library. It's a recipe pattern, and the point of it is it gives you all the stitch counts and numbers to make your own colour worked circular yoke sweater. It's from teeny baby to large male, or no, extra large. The size is it's huge size range for men, women and children and babies. It comes in all in one pattern. You've got fingering weight, DK weight and Aran weight. This is the Aran weight version, and it's just such a fantastic design. And all the colour work you see here is also from the pattern. They have a little motif library at the end, and you can just pick and choose and apply them however you want, and it's designed so that every motif that they give fits in with the numbers, and it's just so clever. I use it for reference all the time, and I've made it multiple times. It's such an excellent pattern. The grey yarn we have here is the Berger de France Doucelaine in the shade Melissa, which is an Aran weight yarn. I think it's 50% wool, 50% polyamide, so great for kids. I initially was making this for my son, and he's more sensitive to wool than my daughter is, so I thought this is a great choice for him. It's been in my stash for ages, I can use it up, but I ended up making it too small. I kind of hadn't realised just how tall my son had got. So this will be for my daughter. It's a bit big for her now, but it will be bang on for her, I think, in a couple of months maybe, or even next year, and it should last a long time. And she's quite short as well, which is why the body isn't too long. I love how one sleeve is pink and one sleeve is blue. It just makes me so happy. So the yarn that I used for the colour work, this was my first ever hand spun yarn, like first ever. I got the Fibre and a Turkish drop spindle from the Summer Wool Show, which I vlogged, so if you'd like more detail about this Fibre and that yarn festival, it's in my Vlogmas in July series. But it was called like Neon, I think it was just called Neon, and it was from the Threshing Barn. And I spun it up, and every little skein I did got slightly finer. The first skein was like super chunky, but the last two skeins, I think I had about 40 grams, were just about an Aran weight. So I thought I'm going to use it in some colour work, so all the unevenness, all the lumpy bumpy of it kind of gets lost in the colour work. And I wanted to choose some really graphic designs as well, so that all that colour kind of shows. And I'm really pleased with it. I love the kind of rainbow vibes, but it's super graphic. I think it's super cool. I think this design I could have done something that was a little bit less fussy, because I think some of the design is lost, but overall you still get the idea. I think it's festive without being Christmassy, and I love it. And my son also loves it. I think he was a little bit gutted that it didn't fit him in the end. Oh, one other thing I just need to point out in case you can see it, it's not showing up on camera so much, and I didn't realise until I was blocking it, but we've got two dye lots here. The sleeves are slightly darker than the yoke, and the colour changes around about here. I think you can kind of see it in the light. There you go, you can just about see the colour change, but honestly, in real life, you barely notice it, and it's not something the kids are going to be bothered about. But yeah, that just goes to show, check your dye lots. I have quite a lot of this yarn left, and I'm really hoping I have enough for one for my son, but I can still buy it. I have found a few shops online that I can still buy it from, and it's a lovely yarn. So as I was saying, my son really wants one, and he asked me if he could have one, and I was like, I'm so sorry darling, I can't get that Fibre anymore. I've looked on the website and I just can't get it. And he wasn't like sad about it, but he was a bit gutted, and it's quite rare that he will ask me to make him something, let alone something to wear. So I got onto Etsy and I trawled through, and I managed to find some Fibre that is extremely similar to my original Fibre, and I'm going to show it to you. Don't worry, this isn't going to become the Spinning Pickle podcast, but I am going to show you my spinning projects when they are happening. So this is the fibre that I found, and this is called Neon Brights, and it is from the Shepherd's Hut. Yeah, the Shepherd's Hut UK on Etsy. And honestly, it is almost exactly the same. I was a little bit worried that it had a lot more white in it, but when I kind of open up the kind of tube, you can see that on the inside it's got all that lovely colour, and it just so happened that the white in it was on the outside and I could just see it more. I have already started spinning it a little bit, but I kind of made a bit of a mistake when I started, and I pulled in some fibre that had a bit of every colour in it, and it kind of ended up being this really beautiful kind of subtle rainbow vibe, but that's not what I wanted. This one, you've got big chunks of pink, chunks of blue, chunks of green, and some parts where it's blended, and we want to try and replicate this as much as possible. So I've moved on, and I'm getting a much bluer kind of section here now, which is what we want. It's still a bit pale. I've still probably got too much of the other colours in there, but I'm trying not to get too stressed about it. I'm also spinning much finer than I was. I'm actively trying to spin thicker, which is weird and hard, but if I can get an Aran weight, brilliant. If it's DK weight, then I'll just do a DK weight version. That's the great thing about the Strange Brew. I can just follow the numbers for the DK version and see if I can find a nice grey DK weight yarn. I think I have some Sandnes Garn actually in this kind of colour. Can't remember what it is. I think it's like a DK weight sock yarn maybe, but yeah, it's not difficult to find this kind of grey, and if they don't match perfectly, then it doesn't really matter. I can't see myself knitting this again anytime soon. I do struggle with knitting two of the same things in a row, so this is probably going to be a while in the making, but I am really enjoying taking time to spin at the moment, so I'm going to focus more on getting the yarn made, and I feel like when the yarn is done, I'm going to be excited to use it. My brain goes to a different place when I spin than when I'm knitting, and I think it's because I'm just in the moment, and it's obviously it's about the finished object, and we are trying to get a nice cohesive usable yarn, but I'm not thinking about gauge, I'm not thinking about fit, I'm not counting numbers, and it's just complete pure like mind peace. Is that a thing? And like I tend to spin quite a lot on the weekends, and I will listen to my audiobook, or if the kids and my husband are playing a game or something, I'll kind of just watch what they're up to whilst spinning, and it's just, yeah, it's just a lovely place to be, and I'm really enjoying it. I would love to get an e-spinner. I think that's my next step, but it's not a step I'm willing to take just yet. I want to continue with the drop spindle spinning, but I do think in the long term I would like to be able to spin larger quantities quicker. I think it's really funny how my taste in fibre is the complete opposite to my taste in yarn. I've realised that if I've got one plain single colour fibre, I get bored very quickly and I don't want to spin it, whereas if I've got something like this, it's much more fun and I'm much more engaged with it. And I think if I have an e-spinner, I'll be able to kind of do those, spin more of the yarn that I like, to where I've got this beautiful John Arbon yarn, fibre, sorry, and I have spun a skein of it and it's so beautiful and I love the yarn, but I'm not, I don't have the motivation to spin it because it's just one plain colour and it's not as exciting for me. But I think if I had an e-spinner, I'd be able to sit there enjoying the mindless, consistent version of it, but it will be much quicker. Anyway, there'll be a little bit more on spinning later, but we're going to move on to my next finished object now, and this is a really exciting one, and I'm so pleased with it. In my last episode, I released this Sweet Shop blanket, and thank you to everyone who supported that pattern so far. I can't even tell you how amazing the past month has been with the Sweet Shop release. Honestly, it's been fantastic and it's reignited me in so many ways, and I'm just so grateful for everyone supporting that pattern. And in that episode, I showed you a design that was kind of a follow-on from the Sweet Shop, kind of evolution of that pattern, slightly different takes, slightly different techniques. And I have finished my first sample and we have a name. I would love to formally introduce you to the Stella quilt cushion. Isn't she gorgeous? And she's so squishy. I went back and forth on so many names for this. I've got lots of people telling me that this is called the Ohio Star, but I've also seen it referred to as the Crystal Star, and I didn't want to risk naming it something and inevitably someone telling me it was wrong. I wasn't sure if quilting terms are like crochet terms, different in different countries, all this kind of thing. So I was just like, no, I'm going to give it a different name. And I went with Stella because obviously Stella means star, and Stella was also on my baby name list for Penny, and I love the name Stella, but my husband wasn't so into it. So even if we do for some reason ever end up needing to name a baby girl again, which we won't, I won't even get to use that name anyway. So I thought it would be lovely to name one of my pattern babies, and maybe that's a new theme, maybe unused baby names. But yes, here we go. So this is the first sample. This is an Aran weight version, and it's the Ohio Star motif. It's made using Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool, which is an Aran weight yarn. Well, it's up for debate. Some people say it's DK, some people say it's Aran. I think it's a bit of both. I've used it on 4mm, 4.5, 5mm needles. I think it's a really versatile yarn. But in this case, I'm treating it as Aran weight, and I would love to show you the backing. The backing is, again, just garter, but it's knit on the bias. So as you can see, it's going across the back of the pillow rather than like this way or vertically. And I did it that way, one, because it's kind of the same as the front, like it's all on the bias, just different orientations, but also it makes a stronger fabric. If it was that way, it would be much more likely to kind of start sagging, whereas this way it's just got a lot more strength, and it's really fun to work up. After all of this gubbins, it's really nice just to have some nice mindless back and forth, and it's all joined as you go apart from the very last seam, which is sewn shut using mattress stitch, which I really enjoy doing. I love mattress stitch, I find it really satisfying. But it does mean that the pillow is completely closed, so if you did need to wash your cover, you would have to unpick your mattress stitch and then redo it, which I'd be willing to do, but I'm also treating this cushion as like a decorative piece. I don't use it to like lie on, I don't put my face on it, I don't put my skin on it. It's purely decorative, and when I sit down I tend to move it. However, I know not everyone is like that, so in my second version, which I'm about to show you, I'm going to incorporate a closure so you can take the case on and off the pillow insert. I've used a 40-inch down, 40-inch? No way, 40 by 40 centimetre down pillow insert for this. I think you could also get away with a 50 by 50 because it's so stretchy. If you wanted a firmer, more solid pillow, you could, but I wanted like squish and fluff. So I went with the 40 by 40, but you could go either way. And the other version is my first whip. So that's a nice little tangent for you, isn't it? When I was working on this, I realized that it would make a really great advent pattern because we've got 12 different contrast color sections. So if you've got a 12 skein advent calendar, you could use that and use a different skein for each bit and have a really fun colourful cushion cover that would look even more like quilty vibes. However, most advent calendars are either fingering weight or DK weight, so I was like, right, we need to make this workable for DK too. So you will get the numbers for the Aran weight version and the DK weight version in the same pattern, and I am nearly finished on my front piece of my sample. I decided to use a slightly different star pattern as well, and both instructions for the Ohio Star and this star, which I think is an 8-point star, again I'm not 100% sure, will be in the pattern, so you've got two options here. And I have ended up using 8 different colours for this one. Every time I look at it, I'm so in love with it. It's so beautiful. Can you see where I'm going with this? We're not quite done yet. I've got a few squares to go. I have gone a bit rogue. Normally you add them like this in order, but I had some friends over at the weekend and I needed a mindless project to work on whilst we were like having the evening and chatting and stuff. So I just added this plain one on whilst my friends were around. It's nice. It's such a portable project. I've done this in the car, I've done this on the go because it's not too big and it's quite simple. It's not. Is it simple? it's reasonably complicated. I'll say it now, it's definitely an intermediate pattern, but once you have done it a few times, it's simple. It's like the sweet shop blanket, but with a few other different joining techniques, because obviously the sweet shop blanket, they're all the same direction. This way we have different ways that the triangles are turned. But there you go, here's the next sample. It's DK weight, and I'm using my Woolly Mammoth Fibres 12-day advent calendar from last year, plus a few different ones, plus a few different Woolly Mammoth mini skeins that I also bought, because the original advent calendar had quite a few blues in, but I wasn't feeling the blue, and I just wanted the kind of pink and green and orangey yellow type vibes, because this is going to go in my daughter's bedroom in her little reading tent, and those are the colours of her bedroom, mainly pink and yellow. However, I have got a bit of an issue here. I don't know if you can tell, but I've chosen two colours that are very, very similar, and we're not getting enough contrast. So I think I'm gonna have to pull out this one, I think, because I really like this pink, but what I think we need here is either a very light green or a very light yellowy orange, and I'm struggling to find anything in my stash that would work. I did pull out the blue to see if maybe we just have one little moment of blue, but I think it would stand out too much. And then I also have this one, which is from the advent calendar, which is a kind of warm yellowy pale colour with moments of pink in it, but I think this is going to be too close to my yeah, if you look at it like that, it's a bit close to my contrast, my main colour. It's difficult to tell. I think I'm going to skein this up and wind this up and see, but I may have to go rogue and add in a different yarn that isn't a Woolly Mammoth, but that's okay. My main colour, by the way, is Saga by Filcolana, and it's a light fingering lamb's wool, one of my favourite wools, and it came up the same gauge. This is held double, by the way, it's fingering weight held double, but it came up at a very similar, well, basically the exact same gauge as the Woolly Mammoth, and it's got a very similar feel to it. It's not rustic, it's not soft, it's like that perfect in between, and I think it's going to be lovely for a cushion colour cover because it's soft to the touch but it's robust. So there you go, that's the next sample. I need to get a shufti on with this because I would like it to be released in November, because obviously getting ready for your advent and everything, but also it's a lovely pattern for gifting. It's a reasonably quick pattern. The Aran weight version I think took me about 20 hours. Obviously it's a bit longer on the DK weight version, but if you wanted to make one special present for someone in your life for Christmas, I think it would be really lovely. So I'd like to get it out with enough time for people to make it as a Christmas present if they want to, or it will be a perfect advent pattern. So there you go. I need to just put some finishing touches on the pattern and then get it into test. I have my testers selected already. I had quite a few people from my current testing pool volunteer, and then a few newbies as well. So there won't be a public test call for this because I only really need 5 or 6 testers. It's not really a big, I don't really need lots of people on it. So doing a public test call where I'd likely get hundreds of applicants would just not really work when I'm only choosing a few. So yes, hopefully the pattern will be ready for you very, 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 very soon. Yay! So that moves us nicely into whips, and I have 2 other whips to show you. My main whip and a whip that I lost for ages and just found this morning. So I'm very, very pleased. And I have another spinning whip, but that's going to be our transition into acquisitions, because we do have a few acquisitions, but they're more like plans rather than acquisitions, and we need to have a big chat about my yarn stash situation. It's not good. So let's show you my kind of forgotten whip first. I'm so glad I found this because I've been really wanting to work on this because it's so close to being finished. When I went on holiday at the very end of August, we went to Norfolk, and I did a little what I knit in a week on holiday video. If you haven't seen that yet, I wanted a nice, simple, easy project that was just for me. I've been doing a lot of gift knitting, a lot of knitting for other people, a lot of work knitting. And I was like, I just want something really simple and chill that's not my own design. And I kept being drawn back to this, and it's going to look very strange to show you because it's been crumpled up in a bag, shoved in a cupboard, which is why I lost it. But this is my mini mock neck tank by Jessie Maed Designs, and this is a very poor example of it, and I'm not gonna put it on because then I'm gonna have to mess my hair up basically, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, I will try and put in a picture of somebody else's or the original design so you can see how it's gonna look. Not this funny little crumbly version. I know it looks absolutely tiny, it looks weeny, but it has lots of negative ease because it's meant to stretch nice and tightly over the body. And I know that this is meant to be more of a summer knit, and the picture in the pattern is like this beautiful lady on a beach with these hot pink bikini bottoms and her mini mock neck, and it looks amazing. But I'm going for more of an autumn vibe with this. I love to wear cardigans in the autumn, and I also like to be able to layer because sensory wise I'm really sensitive to heat, so I do tend to layer quite a lot so that I can adjust my own temperature more easily. And I thought this would just be a really lovely base layer. I was also really inspired by Jackie from Caddy Jack's Knits in all her versions and the way she styled it, and I ended up choosing this really neutral colour because then I can really play with what I wear over it. I do have plans for a nice bright PetiteKnit red cardigan at some point soon, which I think would look fantastic over it, or I've got my Midland cardigan, or I've got a lovely green cardigan that I made last year that would look great over it as well. Just wanted a really neutral base, and this is a yarn that I've had in stash since this time last year. I originally bought it for the West Knit MCal twists and turns, but I ended up not finishing it. I then used it for the the West Knits MCal socks. I ended up not finishing those either and ripping them out, and I thought I just need to get this yarn done because it's beautiful yarn. It is by Truley yarns. I bought it from Etsy, and it's called Winter Stroll, and it's just a fingering weight sock yarn, and it's just this lovely neutral, but it does have, it's not completely solid. I say it's tonal, and it's got little moments of pink, it's got little moments of brown and beige, and I'm so pleased with it because we don't have any pooling or anything like that, which is always a risk with hand-dyed yarns. I didn't alternate skeins or anything like that. I just went for it, and I'm really, really pleased with it. It looks a bit funny because this bit was already knit and this bit was straight from a fresh skein, so you can see a slight difference in that, but that's just because of the texture of the stitch, not because of the skeins. And I'm really excited to get this done. I'm on the final ribbing. I don't know how deep I'm going to go with the ribbing yet. I'm just going to see how I feel, but it was surprisingly quick. I have done a fingering weight garment before. It was the Sunday tea for my mother-in-law, and it was when I was quite a new knitter, and yeah, it was a slog, and I've not done anything since, but I found this a lot more manageable. I'm using 3.5mm needles, which is quite big for a fingering weight, and I think if I was to make this again, which I think there is quite a high chance I would make this again, I just want to see if I actually wear it or not, I would probably go down a needle size, maybe to a 3.25 or even a 3, and maybe go up a size to accommodate for that, because I have found the gauge quite loose, which again, look, you can see the stripes, you can see through it, you see the stripes of my jumper through it, which is fine because it's skin tone anyway. I don't think it will feel see-through when it's on the body. I also don't mind if people can like see like the colour of my bra a little bit or the outline of my bra a bit. We all know I'm wearing a bra, it's no secret. It doesn't bother me at all if it's visible. But I did find it, knitting it at the looser gauge that it is, meant I couldn't quite fully get into the rhythm of it. Like I'm really quite a fast knitter on smaller needles, like 3-4mm needles. I can really get my speed up, but because the gauge is looser, I was much more likely to not quite get into the stitch or go into the stitch below, and I just, yeah, couldn't quite get into the rhythm of it. So I think I would knit this at a tighter gauge again in the future if I do knit it again. So yeah, hopefully next time I see you, I'll have this finished and I'll be able to wear it for you. But I'm very excited to get back to work on that, and I will be getting straight back to work on this when I have finished my next whip, which is a monster of a whip and has taken over my life, and yeah, it's nearly done. And it's a good job that I didn't end up going with what I filmed on Monday either, because I've made quite a lot of progress on this since, and I'm able to show you more of a finished thing. I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. Back in July, I started a new jumper whip for my husband. In July, I finished his Christmas knit from last year, which was a whole saga in itself. And I decided that I wanted to knit him a jumper for our anniversary, which is on Saturday. It's our 7-year anniversary. How? And the traditional gift is wool. There is another traditional gift, but I can't remember what it is, but I've been so excited for our 7-year anniversary because I was like, well, I'm obviously going to make him a jumper. My husband has always wanted a cream/white cabled jumper, or like a fisherman's jumper as he called it, but I've always said no because it was such a big task. I do enjoy knitting cables, but I need to be in the mood, and even then I've never knit a fully cabled jumper. The only other cabled thing I've done is my eclair sweater, which is a raglan, and the cables are only on the body, they're not on the sleeves, and it's one simple cable and it's not complicated, it's just time consuming, whereas he wanted something a lot more intricate. And I decided I was finally going to do it. And to avoid the dramas we had from last Christmas, I started it super early. I started it in July. I made loads of good progress on it, but then it kind of got put aside for a while. And I have ended up in a slight situation where I am against the clock and I'm having to really push myself to finish it in time. But it's nowhere near as bad as it was before. And actually, I'm kind of grateful for that kind of last minute push, because it's otherwise I think I probably would have abandoned this project. I think if I was making this for me, I wouldn't have found it so easy to get it done. However, if I was making it for me, it would be a smaller size and a much shorter body, so it wouldn't have been anywhere near as much knitting. Anyway, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Moby sweater by PetiteKnit, which is an incredible pattern, but it has definitely been a labour of love. And it's the love not for the project, it's the love for my husband that's making me get it done. Now, it's sometimes tricky to show because of the colour, it does blow out quite a lot. But it is Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool in the shade Natural White, and you can see it goes on and on and on. It's so long, and my husband isn't even like crazy tall. He's quite normal height. I think he's 5'7", so it's not even that it needs to be even that long. I shortened it from what it says in the pattern. I also shortened the sleeves slightly. The one good thing about not finishing his big love cardigan in time was that I was able to get the length perfect for him. He was constantly trying it on, and so I was just able to reference the length of that, and I referenced the sleeves for that because the sleeves were far too long, and he's ended up folding the cuff back, but that's all right because it looks good because the collar is folded as well. So yeah, I'm confident that my sleeve length is perfect. I finished this sleeve on Monday. The sleeve was actually really enjoyable because it's obviously got only one of the kind of motifs on it. There's none of the crossing, which actually wasn't as bad. I wanted to avoid this kind of texture in whatever I chose to knit for him, but actually it ended up being fine. Like, it wasn't any more labour intensive or difficult than anything else. And actually this whole section is like just knit every other row, so it was actually quite a nice relief in the end. And I definitely found once I got to about the halfway point in the sleeve, it really sped up. And on my second sleeve, I'm about at that point. I'm nearly halfway through the decreases, and it's at this point that that last bit of sleeve really kind of speeds up and gets quick. And the thing I found with this the most is that getting myself to start working on it is the hardest thing. Once I get into it, I really get into it. I found the stitch pattern really becomes quite intuitive. It's so clever because it looks complicated, and it's got that look of an all over cabled, textured jumper, but actually it's not that labour intensive when it comes to the actual cable designs. I committed it to memory really quick. I didn't have to look at the pattern at all whilst I was working it. It was really easy to track. I would use a stitch marker to track every cable round because I do find it difficult to figure out when I'm cabling again, and I don't want to have to reference the charts every single time. So I just use a stitch marker. I can actually show you on the sleeve. I like to make a note of every decrease that I've done so that I can quickly count how many decreases I've done, how many more I've got to go without having to count all my stitches or count the decreases. And then this little blue one here, I attach it to a purl row just because that's the easiest to count. It's more tricky to count in like the textures and stuff. So I just use this little purl row section next to the cable. So I'm able to count how many rows it is and if it's a cable row or not. But it becomes pretty intuitive, and this is just really just to double check that I'm doing it at the right time. So that's how I've been tracking my progress on it, and I'm really hoping to finish this sleeve today. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I should be finished filming and tidying up and all that kind of stuff hopefully by 10:30, and my children have an after school club today, so I've got, let's say I sit down at 11 o'clock to focus on this. I've got 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got 6 hours to work on this today, and I think I can do it. I think I can finish the sleeve. I've got to gift it to him on Saturday. Obviously it needs to block. I'm not going to fully wet block it, I'm just going to steam block it. I find that's more than enough, and it's like a fraction of the time to dry, and I think once he's worn it for a little while, I'll give it a proper wet block then. But I also don't want it to grow dramatically. We obviously want the stitches to relax, because with cables and texture, it's like it comes up so small when you're working on it, but as soon as you block it, it relaxes and becomes its true size. And I've steam blocked the body, and it's beautiful. It's drapey, it's perfect, the stitches are open, my gauge was spot on, so it's the perfect measurements. So I don't feel like I need to wet block this in this situation. I haven't even wet blocked this, I've just steam blocked it. I know loads of people will ask me where my steam blocker is from. I just chose one on Amazon. I think it was about mid-range. It wasn't the cheapest, it wasn't the most expensive. To be honest, I think they're all pretty much the same. There's no good, there's no bad. It's like a pretty simple thing. But investing in a steam blocker, even though it wasn't investing, it wasn't crazy expensive, I use it all the time. So I probably would spend even more money on one if I wanted a higher quality one, but I'm fine with the one I've got. Just make sure you use the gloves that come with it, because that steam gets really hot, and I did burn myself on the steam because I couldn't be bothered to put the gloves on, but now I put them on every single time without fail. So yeah, steam blocking is amazing. I'm gonna be glad when this is over, if I'm honest. really glad, because I would really like to get going on some of my other garments, but I can't really do more than one garment at a time. I worked on these separately, but it worked because I don't work on this in front of my husband, so I can't work on it in the evening. I needed an evening project anyway, so I've kind of been doing my pleasure project in the day and my work projects in the evening. I think that's gonna obviously flip to be the other way around, but yeah, it's been good. But after this point, I would like to just focus on one garment. I've got my Midland cardigan and my John Arbon design that are both next in the queue. I don't know which one is going to come next yet. It completely depends. I think it's going to be the John Arbon one, because I would like to get that out in winter. It's more of a wintry garment, whereas the Midland cardigan, it can be released right up until spring. So I think, you know, business wise, it makes sense to do that one first. I'm also really excited to work with the yarn that I've got for that, for my second sample of my John Arbon sweater. So yes, there we go, that's my Moby. We are so close to the end. I absolutely cannot wait. I am 99% sure my husband knows about this. I worked so hard to keep it a secret, and then I realized that for one of my podcasts I was making the thumbnail, and this was like in the corner of the thumbnail, and my white text was getting lost against the white background, and my husband's an art director, so like he knows all about this stuff, and I just went, oh Ben, can you help me with this? I'm really struggling to get my text to stand out just on that bit, but I don't really know how to make it work, can you help me? And it wasn't until a few days later that I suddenly realised, oh hang on a minute, he was just staring at the white cable sweater for ages whilst helping me with this thumbnail. And I was like, okay, he has either seen it and thought, oh, maybe that's for me, but I won't say anything, or it just went straight over his head, which is completely possible. And then last week I was showing him my finished cushion cover, and he was like, oh no, that's really good. Oh, how's the white cable thing coming on? And I was just like, fine, yeah, it was great. And I was like, oh, if he was already suspicious, then that totally just like confirmed it, because I was so awkward about it. I should have just gone, oh yeah, no, that didn't work out. That was just some idea I had. I should have just like not. Oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. But he hasn't mentioned it since. So if he does suspect that it is for him, he's not ruining the surprise for me. But never mind. It's nearly all over and I can move on to something different. So I think, yeah, that's it. That's all my whips, that's all my projects. How long have we been going for? 45 minutes. I'm doing quite well. I think we're going to be sub hour or around an hour. Good girl. Good girl. So we are going to do a little kind of acquisition-y kind of section, but it's not yarn. Well, it's kind of yarn, but yeah, it's weird. It's more like plans moving forward and what I got from Unravel. I went to Unravel at the kind of midpoint of September. I went down so that I could go and see my dear friend Sophie of the Knit Pickle Girl do her first public appearance and have a chat about her life as a business owner in the creative knitting industry, and it was so interesting. I learned so much from her and it was just a pleasure to go and support her. It also meant that I got to meet up with a few other knitting friends who I'd never met in real life, but got to spend some proper time with them, which was so nice. I also got to meet quite a few of my viewers, which is always such a pleasure, and I met some really special people, and it was just such a wonderful day. I had such a good time. I chose not to film it because I just wanted to be in the moment, and I had recently filmed a yarn festival video, so I was like, well, that'll be a bit boring. I also wasn't buying yarn, and I honestly, I'm gonna have to do something that I never said I would do, but I'm gonna do it. I'm going on a yarn ban. Now, there are some caveats to this yarn ban. I basically got to the point where my yarn stash it's major. I've got a lot of yarn, but it's all yarn that I love and want to use and have plans for. I recently did a big de-stash, a big sort out. I donated a load of stuff. I got rid of a load of stuff that was just like scrappy ends that I didn't want anymore. So it's not like I've got this overflowing mass of yarn that I don't even want. It's all stuff that I want to use and have ideas for and projects for. I can't keep up with myself. So I'm going on a yarn ban, and by that I mean I'm not going to buy any more yarn that I don't have a plan for, that I'm not immediately going to be casting on. I will still accept gifted yarn. That's always fine by me, and if I'm contacted by a company who want to sponsor a design or send me samples, I will also say yes to that, because that makes my margins better for my business. If I can, you know, use a gifted yarn for a design, then that massively brings my costs down, which is important if you're a business owner. So I will still do that, but I'm no longer just going to be buying yarn on a whim unless I'm immediately casting it on. I have been working on something that I'm not sharing yet, and I've realised I do need an extra skein or two, so I've ordered that yarn because I need that to complete the project. But the majority of that yarn was stash yarn, so if I have to buy a little bit more in order to help me get something out of stash, I will, and that's fine. But we are no longer frivolously buying random yarn, because honestly, it's not even enjoyable anymore. Like, I know I could go out and buy a load more yarn if I wanted to, but it's not fun, because I know it's just going to go on the shelf and not be used for ages. So yeah, the shine is gone. So I won't be buying any more yarn for the foreseeable future. I don't really know how long it's going to be. It's probably going to be until I feel like I'm at a point where I can actually see myself getting through the yarn that I've got. My sister recently also went on a yarn ban. She's a crocheter, and she says it's been fantastic, and she's really enjoyed the last year of not buying yarn. She says she's made more things than ever. She says it's been a creative challenge. She's made loads of garments. She's made lots of things for other people, and she's just really enjoyed it, and I found that really inspiring. So yes, it's happening. I am on a yarn ban. So when I went to Unravel, I knew I wasn't going to be buying any yarn, but I did want to buy some fibre, and I was kind of open to what I could see, and I ended up buying something that I've wanted for ages and I'm really excited about, and will enable me to get through some of my yarn stash. So let's start with the fibre. I found a new fibre creatory person when I was at Unravel, and I got to meet them and speak to them, which was so lovely. I bought a art fibre bat from Charmaine of Yarn Tings. She does hand-dyed yarn and fibre, and she just had the most brightly, wonderfully colourful stall with all this lovely, beautiful fluff, and I was kind of chatting to her, and she explained that the bat that I bought was one that she'd made the night before, and that her son had chosen the colours, and I was like, oh, right in the feels, sold. Like, I loved the idea that it's something she had made with her son and that he had chosen the colours. And it was interesting because it also made me think of my son, and I thought I would love to make something for Jeff with this. I could just imagine him enjoying this. It's in a bit of a state because I've been pulling from it, and like, yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but this is what I purchased. It is mainly merino, but it also has some mulberry silk and some recycled sari silk. And I just loved the kind of bright greeny yellow with the pops of hot pink. My son loves a bit of pink, and it just looked so fun and interesting and stimulating to spin, which it is. And I have a little turtle. I started spinning it straight away, and I love that the colour makes it look even more turtley. So you can see that it's kind of ended up being moments of green, moments of yellow. You can't really see any of the pink, but there are kind of pops of pink in there. I found the pink would either end up having like a little section of just pink, or it would get blended into the rest. You can kind of see it here and there, but yeah, it's ended up being this real kind of, it feels snaky. I remember thinking that at the time. It's like this really lovely snaky green. My son does want me to make him a snake, but I'm not sure I will use this to make a snake because I think it's too precious. But I think it would be really fun in a garment for him, or maybe some accessories, hat, gloves, that kind of thing. But we'll see when I've finished spinning. I have been able to spin this really finely, and I'm assuming it's because of the high silk content, it makes it strong. But I also think, you know, I've developed as a spinner. I've learned to kind of trust the twist a little bit more. And yeah, I've kind of ended up with, I think it's classed as worsted, but it might be a hint of woolen just because I'm pulling from a bat, and the fibres aren't all like smoothly aligned like you have with tops or roving. So yeah, it's definitely a different style, but I'm doing everything I can to kind of align and smooth. I'll tend to like pull out a little bit, and then I'll pre-draft it a bit and align those fibres and then spin from that. So yeah, this has been a really fun, enjoyable spin so far. I have got my next one on the go. Managed to get about 30 grams onto one turtle, which is the most I've managed so far. So I'm going to aim for another 30 grams on here and then ply them together to get a 2-ply. And I very much think that I'm DK weight with this. When I'm spinning it and I like let it ply back on itself, it's definitely giving DK vibes. So I'm really, really excited to get this finished. But it's also nice to not be like, I want to get this done. There's no rush, there's no deadline. It's just as and when I feel like it, and when I need that kind of brain break. So that's my other spinning project at the moment. And then I ended up buying something else that I wasn't planning on buying, but I have wanted to do for ages, and I have a very clear plan for this. I was able to finally meet Kimmy from Knit and Living. I've been speaking to Kimmy online for ages. She's so kind. She sends me lovely things sometimes. I bought my Mood Satin XXL from Kimmy, and I'm absolutely loving it. I do find it a little bit, it's not the most portable thing because it's very round, so it doesn't sit against your body, but it's what I've been keeping my Moby in, and it's got everything in it. And we're going to Devon for the last time this weekend, so I'll be taking everything with me in that. And it was just lovely to finally actually meet her in person and say hi and like have a chat. And I saw that on her stand she had all the PetiteKnit accessories, and I have wanted for a long time to make the winter clutch. I was very much like, when I first saw it, but over time, I've just thought, it's so lovely. I would really love to have that. It's so different. I think it's something I would use all the time. And I now have a very specific occasion that I would like to have it for. I am going to a very, very special wedding at the end of November. I'm going to go and see my dear friend Lizzie of Hive Knits get married to her wonderful fiance, and I'm so excited. And all my knitting buddies are going too. We've booked an Airbnb. It's going to be like a proper knitters weekend. Obviously Lizzie will be a bit busy, so she won't be there with us in the Airbnb, but me and Caroline and Sophie and Simona are all going to get together, and we've booked it for quite a long time because the wedding is on a Sunday, so we're going up on the Saturday, and we've booked it until the Tuesday so that the day after the wedding we can have like a full lovely day of knitting and chatting and catching up. And I'm so excited. I've never been on a girls' holiday, I've never been on a friend's holiday, and I'm just so excited to experience this and to do loads of knitting. And hopefully we're going to film a video too. I think we should like film like a drunk knitting video. That would be so fun, but also dangerous. But yeah, hopefully we are going to film some kind of video together while we're there. But I would obviously love to have something handmade or hand knit to wear to Lizzie's wedding. And in my head, I want to wear black. There are a few black dresses that I would love to wear. It's a winter wedding. I've also got a big Christmas party in December, and I'd like to wear the outfit for both things because outfit repeating is cool. And I just thought having the knitted clutch to go with this dress would be such a fun way to have a knitted thing there. I have my beautiful pink wrap cardigan, the Wrap Me Up cardigan by, oh I can't remember, but I made it for Caroline's wedding and I wore it to another wedding recently. It's like my wedding cardigan, but I don't think it's going to go with the kind of dress vibe that I've got in mind. So I thought, right, I'll make the clutch for Lizzie's wedding. What yarn could I use for it? And I had a little look in my stash and I was hit with just the best idea ever. This was a case of I bought this yarn completely on a whim. I'd seen it, it's one of the new Knitting for Olive colours, and I thought I'm gonna make a slip over with that, but I've now no longer want a slip over in this colour. I don't think I would wear it. It's cool in theory, but longevity wise it's not going to happen. So I thought, well, I'm going to use this yarn for this project. I probably won't need all the yarn, but then I can do other accessories with it, and I'm so excited because this is just going to be so freaking cool. Oh my goodness, I haven't even shown you the things. I'll show you the things in a minute, but this is the yarn I'm going to use for my winter clutch. It is the new PetiteKnit Pink Daisy, Pink Daisies, or Belize Pink, and it's just like the most hottest pink, but not quite neon, but super hot pink. So I've got the Merino and the Mohair, and I haven't even actually looked at the pattern, the yarn that you need for the winter clutch, but I'm pretty sure it's fingering and Mohair. Hopefully it is. I should probably check, shouldn't I? I should check. Ooh, okay. Okay, so it's 3mm needles. So I think I'll be all right with it. I think I'll get away with it. We'll see. It might just have to be this on its own, but that's cool, that's fine. Or I don't know, maybe we double strand this, I don't know. Either way, we'll make it work. So yes, I'm gonna have myself a hot pink winter clutch, and I think that would be so fun against the black dress. Almost like licorice all sorts vibes, but then I think this would be fun in the summer, this would be fun like all seasons, and I get to enjoy this bright hot pink colour, which I love, but isn't something I would be comfortable wearing. Maybe I would, I don't know, I'm trying, but I'll get to enjoy this colour without feeling like I have to make a whole garment from it. So what I got from Kimmy, I bought this is the lining. I was like, I don't want to fluff about making my own lining, I just want it there and ready to go. So I got it in just this kind of simple beigey colour, because at the time I didn't know what colour yarn I was going to use. You can also get really fun printed ones, different fabrics, they were all so lovely, but I just went with the plain one in the end, and it's got the little PetiteKnit label, which is so exciting. And then I got the clutch frame, which is just this kind of metal-y thing, and it says you need to like oil it, so I might need to get into that because I want to have it oiled and ready to go before actually putting it in the actual yarn, in the actual bag itself. So that's the frame, and then I also got the chain to go with it, which I got in this kind of brassy colour, which I think will be really nice against the pink. And there's another label in there. So yeah, I've never bought PetiteKnit accessories. I have received some PetiteKnit accessories from Simona from knit.co.uk. I had the elastic and the stitch holders, which I really liked, although I did steam some things when it had the PetiteKnit stitch holders in it, and I think it made them brittle and they snapped. So piece of advice, if you are steam blocking, don't steam block your stitch holders. I still steam block with the things on a stitch holder, but I just don't steam near the stitch holders or over them, because I think it made them brittle and they snapped. So yeah, that is going to be my, apologies if we're at a different angle, I just had to change the battery. Turns out we get about 50 minutes out of the battery. So yeah, we were coming to the end of the winter clutch anyway, and plans for that. It is my hope to work on that over October and November. I have no idea how long it's going to take me, but basically as soon as we've got I think once I've got my cushion cover done, I'll then move on to the bag. I'm really trying not to overwhelm myself at the moment. And I think this brings us nicely into a little bit of live chat. If you're not here for the live chat, I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. But I thought I would give you a little update on how I'm doing, where I'm at the moment, and what we've got going on moving forward. So, like I said, trying not to overwhelm myself at the moment. Now that the children are both in school full time, I am at a point where I can really start to form like a routine in my life, and I know how much time I've got to be spending on things, and I've been really trying to focus on work-life balance at the moment. My attitude towards work and things is something I've been working on very hard in therapy at the moment. And my motivation and excitement for work has massively grown in the past few months after taking a little break. I feel like I'm at a much more level place now. My expectations I'm putting on myself are a lot more sustainable and realistic. I'd gotten to a point where I was just, unless I was doing as much as I can all the time as possible, be as big and best and brilliant as I can, was just killing it for me. And I've definitely learned how to be content with what I have and to set myself goals that are not only motivating and push me a little bit, but do not overwhelm me. And project management is a big part of that. I'm really enjoying having a work project, maybe even two, but it's also really important that I have a pleasure project. So far that's been the Moby, though that has felt more like work than pleasure for a little while. But then you've also got the mini mock neck tank, another thing I'm working on at the moment, and like the clutch and stuff. I need to have that pleasure project for me, and I'm moving forward. I'm going to try really hard to be working on my work stuff in the day, because it is work. It's so hard to kind of, like, for so long I think I didn't consider my knitting time work and wasn't taking myself seriously and giving myself, you know, the right kind of, you know, props for what I do. Like, it is work, and I think treating my projects as work that are done in the daytime and working hours makes me feel better and makes me more productive, but then not feeling like I have to be working on work stuff in the evenings when I'm trying to relax, when I'm switching off, when I'm spending time with my husband. It's important that I have those pleasure projects to maintain that balance. I've also managed to find a lot more balance when it comes to my content creation since I started my Patreon. I've done my first full month of Patreon now, and I'm absolutely loving it. I can't even lie to you. It is definitely a different environment to YouTube. I still love YouTube, and I will continue to make YouTube videos. I love being able to connect with anyone and everyone, the fact that I can reach new people every day, but then at the same time, being a slave to an algorithm is not fun. It's really not fun, because you feel like you can never truly win and you're not in control, and the amount of time and effort you put in is not necessarily rewarded. Whereas with Patreon, I know what I'm doing, what's expected of me, what reward I'm getting for it, and it's been so motivating. Last month was tricky because I had such a busy start to September. If you are a Maxi Cozy patron, which is my highest tier, then you will get 2 videos a month. You will get a vlog and then an additional video, which will either be a vlog or something different. And so far I've been putting up a little poll, see what people want. I'm really excited about this month's extra video, but last month I didn't manage to get my 2 videos out till right at the end of the month. I think the second one was like the last day of the month or something. But that was okay. Like, I still managed to meet what I was doing, and I know that the people who are over there who are supporting me are there because they enjoy my work and they want me to be happy and they want to support me. So I know I'm not going to get in trouble. But I am really looking forward to having a slightly more cohesive plan this month. I'm already sticking to it. My idea was first week of the month is podcast week, the second week is Patreon, and then the third or fourth week is either rest week or Patreon week, depending on what I'm up to, how I'm feeling, what I want to do. And I think that's just a really good kind of plan for me. I was always really scared of doing a Patreon because I was concerned that having a deadline enforced upon me would kill my motivation, because traditionally that's what's happened in the past. However, it's actually had the opposite effect. Having that little bit of responsibility that still has lots of flexibility. I'm still in control of what I make and when. It doesn't have to be by a specific date as long as it's by the end of the month. But having that responsibility to these people who are paying for my services, and I want to make them happy, I want to do my best for them, I want to make sure they feel like they're getting value, and it's definitely changed how I feel about making videos, and I've absolutely loved making the vlogs for Patreon. I think it's some of my best work and I'm just excited to do more. I'm going to try and get a vlog out on the normal channel soon if life kind of allows it, but we are getting super close to Vlogmas. Okay Google, how many days until the 1st of December?
The 1st of December 2023 is in 58 days.
58 days till Vlogmas! Oh my god, that feels so soon. I'm so excited for Vlogmas. My goodness, I'm like so ready for it this year, and I think it's just going to be a good one, I'm sure. But we're not putting pressure on ourselves. So yeah, the work-life balance is really doing well at the moment. Mentally, I've had a difficult week. If you follow me on Instagram, you all know about this. But I woke up this morning feeling so much better. I'm not going to go hard into it because that's not what you're here for. But I do also know a lot of you are quite invested in me as a person. I want to know how I'm getting on. I've had a really good run the past few months. Mentally, I've done so well. I've been happy but level. Like, not like, I'm so happy all the time, and then big crash. It's just been a lot more level. Therapy's going really well. The kids doing good in school. I'm so proud of both of them. Penny has just like taken to it straight away, and she's surprising me with how well she's doing. I always knew that she would be okay, but because she's so little, she's like the youngest in her year, I was worried about the academic side of it, but she's doing really well and enjoying it. And Jeff is getting used to year one. It's been more of a difficult transition this year, but he's doing his best and I'm so proud of him. And yeah, it's been an amazing few months, but the past week has been difficult, and it's been almost more difficult because I was doing so well for so long. It hit me quite hard, hitting a low patch, but we survived. And compared to what it used to be like before, it's been a much easier ride. So yeah, it feels really good to sit here and say that I'm good, I'm doing okay. And I'm feeling like really loved and supported by all of you guys, by those around me, and by myself, which is very important. Moving forward, what can you expect from me? This month, content-wise, I don't know if there'll be another YouTube video, there may or may not, but you can expect me to be putting out a podcast at the beginning of the month, every month. That's now the plan. And then project-wise, obviously we've got the release of the Sibling sweater this month, hopefully the cushion cover next month, and then I think the next kind of garment release is probably going to be next year now, because I don't want to be releasing patterns during Vlogmas because it's just a bit too much, but there will probably be some new test knitting opportunities before the end of the year. Either the John Arbon sweater that still hasn't been named, or the Midland cardigan, I don't know. I would like to have one of them in testing by the end of the year, but I am not overwhelming myself, and I don't really want to be doing 2 test knits at once. And yes, that means that I won't be releasing 10 garments a year. It's going to be more like 5 or 6. But I'm really okay with that now. I think that's probably been the biggest shift, accepting that I don't have to be producing all the time and to do it at my own rate. I also have learned a lot recently about trying to outdo myself. One of the biggest problems I had this year was that I felt like every pattern release was in some way a failure because they didn't do as well as the souffle. Now it's easier to deal with those feelings now that I've released the Sweet Shop, because it has actually outsold the souffle now, which is mind-blowing absolutely crazy considering the sweet shop has been out for a month and the souffle has been out for over 1.5 years and it's outsold it. So it's obviously, that's very validating and like, phew, I'm not a one-hit wonder. But I was just constantly trying to outdo myself, and even though objectively all the other patterns have done so well, they've done brilliantly. They've paid for themselves, they've done more than that. They've meant, you know, I've been able to like contribute financially to my family for the first time in a long time, and that's incredible. I still was feeling like they were a failure, and I've really assessed that now, and my mindset around it now is that patterns like the souffle and the sweet shop blanket are amazing, yes, because they sell so well, but what they then allow me to do is be so much more flexible with all the other patterns that I release. It doesn't matter if the sibling performs incredibly well or if it's just average or if it doesn't do that well. It's part of the learning process. I can be right, okay, this one didn't perform so well. Why is that? Was it when I released it? Was it the style? Was it the test it? What was it? And I can be like, right, that's what we've learned from this one, and let's move on to the next design. It means I can release things that I'm super passionate about that maybe are a little bit more like, I don't know, like the Chantilly collection, for example. It's probably one of my least selling patterns. The cardigan has done much better than the vest, but the vest wasn't so great. But those I realise are very niche things, and I love those garments. I'm proud of them, but it's okay that they're not so universally like loved. It's like, I think they're quite marmitey, and it's okay because the souffle allowed me to do that. The success of the souffle meant I could have a little bit more fun and freedom and do something a little bit more outside the box, and the commercial success of that pattern wasn't so important because the souffle took the slack. And now I've released the sweet shop. It means I can be more experimental and more relaxed in the next year's worth of patterns because the souffle has got me covered. The sweet shop blanket has got me covered financially. So just that big shift in mindset when it comes to me and my creativity versus business. It's a really hard balance, and I remember when I first released patterns, I couldn't call myself a knitwear designer. I didn't feel like it, and I wasn't sure if I ever would feel like I was a knitwear designer. And I always said to myself, like, I think I'll feel like a knitwear designer when I pay my first tax bill or get an accountant. And I was right. We're there now. And like it's serious, and we've got to do accounts and all this kind of stuff, and it does make me feel more like a knitwear designer. But I also, it's not just because of that. I feel it within my soul. It's like, this is me, this is what I do, this is what I was made to do. And yeah, I'm just so pleased with it. And I'm happy with where I am in my life. I'm happy with where my business is, and I'm excited to grow and do better and do more at my own pace. Oh my goodness, we got quite deep, didn't we? Oh my gosh. Right, let's wind it up, because I did say it's going to be about an hour, but we're pushing that now. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Knitting Pickle Podcast. I will catch up with you guys again in a few weeks' time. If you would like to join me on Patreon, all the details are down below. Like I said, there's a higher tier where you get videos, or there's just a support me tier where you get discounts and occasional posts, but no videos, but you can just help me with my business and my channel if you want to. The Patreon has meant I can continue with YouTube. And yeah, it's great. So if you'd like to support me over there, I'd love it if you were to join us. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.